Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Go paddle up. I said go paddle up. Make sure I got some powder on my face. No.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to Bros and Pros. We are back and we are fired up and ready to go. We're so thankful for those of you watching. We're going to have an awesome event today. We have one of the greats of this sport. You know, it's a funny thing to call somebody great, especially in a sport that for the most part is, you know, mainstream new. But there's still greats in this sport. There's still people that are laying the foundation, doing amazing things, creating amazing lanes for people to start following. And my guest today is one of those people. I think he's a great player, crafty player, slick player, amazing angles, sharp. But he's also one of the most respected, if not the most respected referees in the game. One of the most knowledgeable men about the game. An Onix Brand player ambassador. I call him a road warrior because he's an avid RV enthusiast. And just an all-around awesome guy. His name is Byron Freso. We're going to bring him on live right now and welcome him to Bros and Pros. Byron, you're live. Welcome to Bros and Pros.
Hi, thanks for having me on, Kim. I appreciate this opportunity to be a part of this new experience that you're endeavoring upon with pickleball. Certainly, I commend you on getting this started, and wish you much success and going forward.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, Byron. Truly, I mean, when I think in terms of just you in general, where I'm at with it right now is due in part to both you and your wife, Marsha. But definitely give her our regards. We're going to definitely speak on her at some point today. But I think about when I went to the Atlanta tournament, which was our first tournament, and myself and the contingent from Augusta, we came down, but we were kind of like, no one wanted to go down to where the pros were at. So, you know, me being me, I went down like, hey, I want to go see the guy. I want to be right there as long as, I want to be close. And Marsha came over and talked with me. And I got to talk with you. We spoke about RVs and such, and it just was very welcoming. And it just represented what was going on in pickleball in general, which is just a very welcoming environment. Has it been that way for you? How did you get, how did you get drawn into this game?
It's kind of a long but a fairly simple story. What happened about 5 years ago, after Marsha and I retired, we moved down to Florida. Into a community where it just so happens they had 4 pickleball courts. Obviously, my background prior to pickleball is in racquetball and table tennis. And so after suffering some debilitating injuries, my knees were out, my back, had back surgery. I was told by my doctor that if you dive any more on the floor, you might not get up and walk. So I was a little frustrated that I couldn't play sports at the level, at least the sports I was accustomed playing at the level I had become accustomed. So it just so happened when we got to Florida and we moved into the community, there was an older gentleman and his wife who invited us to come and play. And they gave us 2 of these wooden 16-ounce or 20-ounce wooden paddles with a strap where you put it around your wrist, and said, come on and play. And they proceeded to spank Marsha and myself. After that game, I told him, I said, that's not going to happen again. So, where can we get the paddles that you were playing with, rather than those big, heavy wooden ones that we have? And so we acquired a couple of paddles, and we started practicing, and found out that the sport was quite addictive. I mean, we got hooked from day one playing this sport, to the point where we decided to follow it to just about every tournament, because I would say several months after we began playing, we had began outplaying our neighbors in the community. And so to the point where they said, you two cannot play together, which is kind of ironic that is the case right now.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there, because I want to talk about that. But but before we get there, I want to bring you back a little bit to your original sports that were your strong suits, because I read somewhere that you said that you felt that you were a better racquetball and ping pong player than you are a pickleball player? Like, you still feel like you're better at those sports than you are at pickleball?
I wouldn't claim racquetball anymore as being better, because that's a sport that is far more demanding on your body, which, with a bad back and so forth, I cannot play the level that I was playing. But certainly table tennis, I think I am a much better table tennis player than I am a pickleball player.
So we're saying at this moment then, because you can still play table tennis, that doesn't have the same impact on your back.
Not as much. It does have some impact, but it's not as much as it would had I been trying to play racquetball.
Right. So all right. So we're saying that better table tennis player than pickleball player. How is racquetball and table tennis impacted your overall approach to pickleball?
Well, I tell you, they're slightly different approaches. Initially, when I began playing, I was trying to use a lot of racquetball strokes. And if you understand racquetball, it's about hitting the ball as low as you possibly can to the floor and executing a winning shot. Whereas with pickleball, you've got to get over a net. So a lot of my shots initially when I started playing pickleball were going into the net. I was driving the ball into the net. And so I had even problems trying to serve forehand with pickleball. So I decided that I'm going to scrap the racquetball approach. And I said, you know what, let me try my table tennis approach to this, which I began serving backhand after having problems with my forehand serve. And it's like, boom, light bulb went off. I decided to change up my whole game, the stroke and the method of playing, and utilize a lot of the table tennis attributes, as I play today.
Well, okay, so here's the thing that I find a lot of ex-table tennis ping pong guys, they tend to hold their paddles 2 fingers in the back, 1 finger in the back. That's a real ping pong sort of thing. Did you have that issue? Because, when I watch some of your footage, you're you're using a continental grip. You're in pocket.
Well, I've got my paddle here, the Evo Pro from Onix, and generally speaking, the way I hold my paddle, when I'm receiving a serve, I hold it with a standard continental grip, forehand, backhand. My serves, I don't have the classic tennis stroke return that most of the tennis background players have, where they would drive the return, forehand or backhand.
You mind standing up for us, because we can see you. We still got you in camera. We trying to analyze this right here. Hold on.
Okay. So for me, my stroke is more of a chip slice.
Yeah.
Backhand slice, forehand slice, or I'd have volley the ball where I would just pick it off the court. As soon as the serve comes, I'd pick it off the court and have volley it back as a return. Try to get it as deep as I can. So those are generally the 3 strokes I have: a backhand slice return, a forehand slice return, and a half volley return on the forehand side. And for pickleball, you need to just get it back deep as possible, and you get up to the kitchen line. So for me, that's a functional return that I have. It is not the return necessarily that's going to overpower a server, but it's certainly a return that I can have placement. I can have an effect on slicing the ball, causing a much more problematic return for the third shot on my opponent. Right.
Okay, so now I'm looking at 3 basic strokes that you've developed to be effective in your game. So you're not having an issue with the fingers in the back. See, that's the thing. Like when I was younger, I played a little bit of table tennis, ping pong is what we called it. A little bit of ping pong. So I kind of come from that, playing this way and kind of shooting like this. Not as much the forehand, like the tennis forehand, where I see a lot of people that play pickleball currently are playing a tennis forehand and a tennis, really a wound up sort of tennis return off their backhand. And I see a couple of them with that cutting forehand, and and I'm dropping low now. That seems like that's the new way to drop low with a cutting backhand to keep it low to the net.
for me, that's my standard return is the continental grip. However, once I get to the kitchen,
right, okay,
that's where my table tennis instincts kick in, and I generally hold my paddle in this manner, where if you see where I choke up on it, not as much as some players where they choke up with a 2-finger.
Yeah, there you go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, not like this.
Not there.
Generally, I just put my index finger.
Okay.
Here, and this allows me where I have a good feel for the ball coming off of the paddle, as opposed to here where I don't have a good sense of the ball striking the paddle, and it improves for me personally, it improves my touch,
right,
so my volume and my dinking.
See, that's what I kind of figured about that, because when I I've been working with the continental grip, and so it gives me a lot of power off the swing. So I'm not doing a lot of work, pow. I hit it, I can actually flick my wrist and it goes flying. But when I really want to have a soft touch, or if I want to really control my angles, it feels more. I feel like I have more control when I have my. See, I do the fingers in the the back thing, but I feel like I have a sense of the ball, and it gives me that sort of that sensory perception of the sweet spot on the paddle.
Right.
And I almost feel like I'm reinforcing the paddle to some extent by putting my fingers there. But you say no fingers up along the base of the paddle for you.
Yeah, from the baseline, heading to the kitchen, continental grip. But once I get to the kitchen and I'm dinking, it's my index finger.
Right.
It's here. So my shot's backhand. It's a table tennis backhand shot where I come over the ball like this. Forehand, the same thing. I come over the ball like this. And all of my strokes are primarily from the wrist. I don't use a whole lot of shoulder unless it's an overhead shot that I'm hitting.
And why is that?
Well, because with my wrist, I can generate enough power with my wrist for placement with that ball. So I'm just holding it. If I'm blocking, for example, someone driving the ball at me, I stand right there at that line. Some people subscribe to the theory that you back off the net if someone is driving to you. For me, being a table tennis player, I stand right up to the table, and so if someone is driving the ball, you got to learn to block that shot.
Right.
So for me, I employ the same principle. Of course, I'm standing 14 feet across the net from me, and I'm right there, and so I'm keyed in on the ball, and I just, I block that shot. So I can block away from them, block to them, or block left or right, depending on where they're set up and where their partner is set up.
Right.
I find this, for me personally, to be a far more effective way of controlling the hard baseball, taking the pace off the ball and dropping it back in the kitchen, or my dinks. If I want to go through with my dinks, I have a good feel for that ball coming off the paddle as to the level of effort I need to employ in order to get that ball from my side over the net. And make that ball, as my good friend Dave Weinbach would say, unattackable. And so, I thought you got look, okay.
Inside joke, everybody. Don't worry about it. But what I wanted to ask you then. So let me ask you this: How old are you? That's the question. I've been doing my research. I'm trying to do my diligence, trying to get in your business so I can throw you off with my great detective skills. I did not get a good feel of your age.
I'm a young kid compared to some of these senior players, but I'll be 62 in December.
Okay. Somehow or another, I had you in the 70 plus category, but.
Hey.
No. I didn't have you looking like 70. I'm saying, I do my research, and I'm saying, wait a minute, did he win 70 plus as well? Hold on, he's just got this. Whoa, man, this dude is looking good. He's holding on, Jack. All right. But
I went to the National Senior Games a couple of years ago. Wanted to go well with my good friend Bill Propert. That was the 60 plus that we have won.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So now,
I can understand you thinking something, because at times I grow my beard out. Like, for example, yesterday up until today, I had my thick, full white beard, my Santa Claus beard.
Yeah, you were in full Santa mode yesterday when we were testing things out.
So decided for this show that I'm going to cut off my full Santa Claus beard and go with the low profile.
Yeah. You got your young face on today. So now a question then would be, what would you suggest? The question is, well, one, how do you stay in practice? Because you can't just rely on the home skills that you have from racquetball and ping pong. And you've been playing pickleball, I understand, for about 5 years, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, there has to be some practice. There has to be some constant development and maintenance of skills. What are you doing to drill? How are you staying on point to remain a champion?
Well, I'll preface it by explaining the problems I have, and which many people are aware. I've got a bad back, and so for me, I can drill, but I can only drill so much because the repetitive nature of drilling and being in a crouched position has a negative impact on my back. So that creates some problems in that area. But when I'm playing in a pickup game, what I generally do, I do the things that I would normally do if I'm drilling. I'm not interested in winning that game. I'm more interested in working on certain shots that I want to develop a muscle memory for. So you'll see me hit a shot, it goes out of bounds, or it goes long, or it goes into the net. That's okay. I'm working on it. So I use pickup games as a way to really keep myself sharp, keep focusing and honing specific shots that become my signature shots, so to speak.
Indeed. And with that being said, I mean, that's an interesting notion, because you're saying that you're still developing muscle memory for specific shots. You know, and that does speak to the old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So I'm trying to figure out how to see an old dog is trying to develop muscle memory for some new tricks right now.
Well, but here's the thing, and this when pickleball right now, it's played by majority of players, 50 and over.
Right.
And so it's a case of where I've seen players who started this game could barely hold a paddle.
Right.
And hit the ball 2 feet to either side of them.
Right.
They are 5-0 players.
Right. Yes.
So
yes.
There is hope for people who have gotten a certain age to learn a new skill, hone that skill, become very good at it. The beautiful thing about it, it's a different game. Perhaps if they might have played tennis many years ago, played basketball many years ago, and they try to go back and play tennis at this age, they might not play it as well because they had plateaued at that time when they left tennis. Right. And so their cognitive skill for the game might have been impaired or impacted by the layoff that they had, and they cannot develop themselves anymore. However, with pickleball being new, it's a different style, it's a different set of skill sets that you are required to play this game. Bringing your tennis background skill helps because it's all about making contact with that ball and paddle control. But the fact that you've got a style of game that incorporates table tennis on the size of a badminton court,
right?
It's a different nuance to the game that allows you to improve that skill that you have. And for me, I find that utilizing all the attributes of all the other sports that I played and incorporating it into my pickleball game helps me improve. And I think for a lot of players, that is the case.
Well, that also begs another question in terms of, speaking of age. For me, I was very excited about pickleball when we were introduced to it by our friend here in Augusta, Georgia. I'm originally from New York, and I come from the hip hop generation. So that's a real short life. That's just short life, shelf life. The way that reality was, if you wasn't getting it by 23, you pretty much was sit out the pasture about 27. You're done for. Like your life is over. And for a long time, even as a kid, I thought, man, when I get 40 years old, I'm over. It's like, well, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. And then I hit 39 at some point in my life, and I was like, well, here I am. And, while I'm alive, I still feel good. I'm functional. Now I need to find me some things to do. Now I'm 46, and last year we discovered pickleball, and I'm all the way in, and I love it because it has I know that this is something that I can do into my 90s. I'm watching, my guy Scott Golden, not too long ago, posted up a live stream of some old timers that were 91 and 94 respectively, and they were out there banging. I mean, they were hitting, they were going, hitting them corners, and these guys was moving, and I thought to myself, wow, this is amazing. So I agree with you that the sport really does give a ray of hope that there's something for us past 40, past 50, 60, 70, like you can play this guy. I just read an article, somebody dying on the court, rest their soul. But I mean, what a way to go, right?
Right.
But where I'm going with my line of thought is, there is a crop of young players now, hot young studs, out there trying to change the face of the game, make it spectacular, a lot of trick shots, a lot of real, making it like skateboarding almost like an X game.
Right.
Does that threaten to outmode the game that we know?
There will always be room for the quote-unquote normal way of playing pickleball. That is, you serve, you return, you hit a third shot, and you get to the kitchen line, you dink, you look for the opponent to make the first mistake, and you put away the shot. That will always be there, because you will find that primarily catering to the older generation. However, the young players, they're playing a mixture game, what I like to term as a transition game. They will bang, they'll soften, they'll play soft, they'll bang again. And so you have got to now develop the skill of changing the pace of the game in midstream if it's not going your way.
Right.
And so the younger players are quite adept at doing that, being able to rip the ball, they soften the shot, cause you to come in, think, and then rip it back at you.
Yeah.
And it's a back and forth, it's a dance that goes on with the younger players. Not to belie the fact that they have got great quickness.
Right.
I mean, Tyler Yates, Ty McGuffin, Ben Johns, these guys, I mean, they get from point A to point B in 0.5 seconds. An old fart like me, with bad back and a bad knee, that's more like 10 seconds. But what I've learned to do is utilize my skills of being able to assess the game,
right,
and assess the flow of the game, and I move to spots because my anticipatory skills are far more honed as to where that next shot is going to go. So I try to get there in a more casual manner than it is trying to fly across the court. So.
All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I want to change paces just a little bit, because we've got some questions coming in, and I want to touch some of those questions. I think they're great, and I want to implore all the people that are out watching right now, watching us live on the various places that you're seeing us. One, to make sure that you come over to Paddle Up Sports, PADDLE UPSPORT on Facebook, where you can watch us live and all of the content that we produce, not just Bros and Pros, but a few other wonderful things that are going on at Paddle Up Sports, and I'm just very happy to be a part of this movement. But definitely we have some great questions, so if you've got questions, please ask them. We are getting them written down. We're going to present as many as we can within the time we have allotted with Byron. But we're going to take a break for one moment, and we're going to switch gears and talk more about you as a ref, as a brand ambassador, and how that, how you came to do that. And I want to talk a little bit about RVing. I mean, because to me, you're living a lifestyle. You're living the dream, bro. I know right now you kind of settled in. Yeah. But I mean, generally, man, bro, I was looking through your Facebook page and I'm seeing nothing but, I'm just seeing America. On your entire pictures are America. So we're going to get back to that in one moment. We'll just take a brief break, and we'll be back in a moment with Byron Freso here on Bros and Pros, streaming live on Paddle Up Sports.
All right.
This is Stephanie Lane. So many gold medals. She's an honorary gold.
Am I responding here?
Queen of the Lob.
Okay.
AKA
I see it now.
the Lobster Queen. This is
Oh,
a
that's
picture
cool,
of you
man.
playing Stephanie Lane. Ball way over your head. Now this picture, it's the same game.
I see you got
Ball
Stephanie
still
on
hasn't
there.
landed. Yeah, I know, right? You think this is a picture of Stephanie Lane with a thumb up, but actually it's the same game. She's just pointing at the ball. Yep, this is Stephanie Lane, and I'll be interviewing her for Bros and Pros, streaming live at Paddle Up Sports.
Yes, we'll have Stephanie Lane coming back with us on our next episode of Bros and Pros, which will be July 17th. And that's going to be an exciting interview. Stephanie's really an awesome woman. She's got great energy. And, you know, I just love that she spends so much time with her fans. And, you know, I looked at her page and I saw nothing but pictures of her with a bunch of people. And I thought to myself, these aren't selfies. This is her taking the time to take pictures with the people that were there and just showing them a great deal of love and being a wonderful ambassador for the sport. Now, when we talk about ambassadors for the sport, and we'll welcome everybody back to Bros and Pros, and we're here on Paddle Up Sports, and we have my good brother and friend, Byron Freso. And Byron, let's talk about you as a referee. You have really become the go-to guy when it comes to refereeing. I mean, when I generally see a match that means something, I see yourself or I see Marsha. So how did you guys get to the point of becoming referees? What was that process like?
Well, I think I'll speak a little bit about myself. But let me address Marsha first. She picked up the game and I think was influenced by a lady who lives in Pebble Creek here in Arizona. No, not Pebble Creek. Nancy Krause is her name. She lives down in Robeson Ranch. And Nancy helped apparently influence her in wanting to become a referee and to learn the rules. So what happened as a result of that, she started learning the rules and became very proficient at it and started refereeing matches and did an excellent job. For me, I've always had refereeing in my background. I was a volleyball referee, then a certified volleyball referee, and I then became a certified racquetball referee. I was a level 2 racquetball referee. And so I refereed a lot of open and low-level pro matches. So transitioning refereeing into pickleball was an easy thing for me because one of the things I always tell players, if you know the rules, it's a big part of winning a match, because if you can do certain things that are within the rules and your opponent is not aware of that rule,
right,
and you execute a certain shot, they stop playing and then they're trying to figure out what just happened.
Right.
Well, if you had read the rule book, you would have known that that's legal what I just did.
Right.
So for me, I like refereeing. I enjoy it from the perspective of being able to manage the game. Notice I didn't say control the game.
Okay.
Because as a referee, I pride myself in just staying in the background and not inserting myself into the game unless it's absolutely necessary for me to do so. And therefore manage this whole process of getting the players through the whole match. And it's all about developing a cadence with players. You understand how the rhythm of the players, how they're going. You call that match to their benefit, not at your pace where you decide that I'm going to do 2, 1, 2, and the players, they're jumping ready to serve. So I enjoy it from that aspect of being able to ensure that the players are having a great time and they don't have to worry about bad calls, or looking across the net and looking at the opponents committing faults and then the referee not seeing it. That's my whole mantra behind refereeing.
So, it seems like you're very engaged in the process during the game. You're doing a lot of moving, you're doing a lot of focusing, watching what's going on, right?
Well, when you're taught to referee pickleball, you're taught to focus on the 2 lines, the non-volley zone lines.
Right.
Your eyes moving left to right. For me, I stand dead center, as opposed to some referees, they tend to stand on the side of the server. My
Okay.
belief is that I can see better both opponents if they're committing any footfalls if I stand dead center. And I don't move my head left and right. I move my eyeballs. I can follow that from side to side because there's no interest for me in the ball or the paddle. My interest is that I keep the ball and the paddle in my peripheral vision, but my focus is on the feet of the players,
So
ensuring that when they make contact with that ball, that they're not stepping into the kitchen.
So at that point, when you're playing, when you're reffing at the net, center line, your only concern is basically the kitchen, not the baseline. You're relying on line judges for that.
Well, you only rely on line judges when it's
When you
a
have
medal. In most likely a bronze medal and definitely a gold medal match, you'll get line judges. For me, refereeing, I am one of the few referees. I'm sure there are others, but I'll speak for me. I can keep an eye on the sideline, the baseline, and the kitchen line, so that if there's a call that needs to be overruled, an appeal made to me, ref, did you see that ball? Was it good on the baseline?
Right.
If I clearly see it, because I tend to track the ball when it leaves the paddle. I'll track it,
Okay.
and I can see where it lands. But at the same time, I'm keeping my focus on that foot to see that you're not stepping into the kitchen line. Once you've executed that shot, I track that ball. I still can tell if you step into the kitchen after you've made contact with the ball on a volley. And so therefore, if there's an appeal by the opponent, they said the ball was out, the team that hit the ball says, well, ref, did you see that? Oftentimes I can say, yes, I saw it, and that ball was clearly out. So a lot of refs are not adept at doing that. I mean, they're focused on the non-volley zone lines.
Yeah.
Occasionally they might pick up a ball that is close to them. I'll say this to you though. One of the hardest things to do is to make a call on the sideline that is right next to you, that is on your side.
Really?
Yeah, because the ball can appear to have made contact with the line, and because it's overlapping.
Right.
But
Right. Because it is in front of you,
Right.
so it appears to have landed on the line.
Absolutely.
When in fact it may actually have made it across that that inch or so, not even an inch. You're talking about like half inch, quarter inch. Yeah, it almost, and then the pickleball's circumference is such that it doesn't compress as much as a tennis ball.
No, it does not. So you will not find me oftentimes making a call to overrule what a player said on that sideline. I can better tell from the far sideline, because I can look for space between where the ball is making contact and the white line. So if it's a green colored court, I'm looking yellow ball, sliver of green, white line, I know definitely that ball is out. So I can better tell on the far side than I can tell from the near side whether that ball is in or out. On the near side, however, if it's a ball that you can see barely overlapping the line from your point of view, I can definitely say that ball was out.
Well, we did a little research again, doing my Expecto Clouseau thing, and we found some footage of you in action. Watching you that high pace, high powered ref job that you're doing. I mean, it was just a lot of work what was going on there, Byron. So we wanted to share this with the people, let them see the extent of work. I mean, the kind of effort that you're putting when you're reffing the match. So we got that. We're gonna go live with a little bit of that, and we're gonna share that with the people.
Okay.
So there we have you. Right now, you're sort of eagle eye on the ball, and
If you notice, as I said, my head doesn't move.
yeah, it doesn't. Nothing's moving right now.
It-
You're literally a statue right now. I mean, there's absolutely. I mean, I'm wondering if you're even breathing at this moment. That's how solid, stiff. I think you actually moved your leg just then.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing. Like I said, I try to pride myself in ensuring that I make the right call, the proper call, applying the applicable rule to the situation. So you got to think quickly. Does this rule apply to this situation? Does that rule apply to the other situation? So as long as you can quickly become adept with that, then it becomes very easy for you to referee. You can relax, and I tell a lot of referees, relax yourself when you get out there. Try not to stress. Don't focus on the scoreboard, because a lot of referees, you'll find they'll have the scoreboard in front of them, and they're quite glancing just constantly to make sure that they've got the right score. Put it away, focus on the game. Then when you need to write the score, you make your mark, put the scorecard away again.
Okay, so now I have a question from, I believe from Rebel, and she says, how long have you been reffing?
I started refereeing pretty much the same time that I started playing pickleball.
Really? Wow.
That's just pickleball. But if you're looking at refereeing overall, I've been refereeing for 30, about nearly 40 years.
Wow.
I've been refereeing.
Wow.
In big sports.
So, because I know that I know that Ravel, she has a great Facebook page, and she does a lot of great motivational speaking on it. But I also know that she just recently started becoming a referee, and she's done a little bit of traveling with it as well. And so I know that she's been really, I know one of her concerns were the fact that people oftentimes do get frustrated with the referees for poor calls, or maybe even costing them the game for that matter. How do you deal with a potential bad call? Well, let me ask you this. Have you had any calls that in retrospect you said to yourself, I might have messed that one up?
If you show me the referee that has never had that situation of flagging, have never really refereed, truly.
Okay.
I've had a few that I've gone back and looked at the video, and I said, gosh, I did miss that call, or I didn't make a mistake in my interpretation or ruling of that specific thing. But that is far and few in between. I think, I tell referees, if you're going to make a call in something, do it with conviction, and so that the players do not get the feeling that you're waffling on them.
Okay.
See, and so if I think back on a couple of, I said, and it's not something that I think cost the team a point. It is just that I should have made a different ruling on a situation, and it's more situational than it is a judgment call.
Okay.
So,
all right. So now let me ask you this. I got another question. I believe Ravel asked one as well about you being sponsored, because I did want to start to tap into that part of our discussion. I wanted to talk about your sponsorship with Onix. Let's start. All right. So a lot of us are really trying to find a niche in this sport. Not just being players, but I do see a lot of people trying to develop careers off it. Some people trying to be professional pickleball players. Other people trying to develop shirt brands, apparel brands. A lot of new paddle companies, foreign as well as domestic. And then there are those of us that are trying to figure out how to just carve a niche where we can, some of us just want to play pickleball and travel around the world and just play pickleball, but the cost of the tournaments is so high. How did you even begin? How did the process happen for you to become an Onix Brand Player Ambassador? Was Onix your first experience, or was it somebody else? Like, how did that process happen? Because it's not like you've been playing forever and they came and found you. This is like you're a baby in the game for the most part. So
yeah, it was fairly simple process of how this occurred. About 2 years ago, I was in the process of trying to find a paddle. I played the same Z5 you showed earlier.
Yeah.
That used to be my paddle of choice, and I played with the graphite version of that paddle, and I found that it was a solid paddle, great paddle, loved it. But I wanted to try something different because I had gone through 3 of the Z5s over the course of time that I was playing up until 2 years ago. And so I switched to a PaddleTech. I was one of the guys that had one of the first set of PaddleTech paddles that came out. I had a red one great, nice paddle to dig with, but didn't have a lot of power behind it. I tried paddle from Pickleball Inc. I tried paddles from ProLite. I tried paddles from Pickleball Now, until the green paddle that I play with, Pickleball Now had just made those paddles and had introduced them to the Nationals back in 2015. Yeah, I think 2014.
Okay.
Introduced to Nationals in 2014. It was the last year that the National was held at the festival in Buckeye. And I picked up that paddle myself, and Steve Paranto, we tried out, fell in love with the paddle instantly. And the gentleman who was at that time the owner for Pickleball Now, Tom Wheeler, said, okay, you can have this paddle, try it out, and see how you like it. So my whole thing started with him giving me 2 paddles, and he gave me a couple of Pickleball Now shirts. He said, this is my company, and wear these shirts when you're playing.
Okay.
I said, thank you very much, because prior to that, I was buying paddles.
Right.
I've never gotten a free paddle. And so it was about a year later, or less than that, that Pickleball Now was acquired by the company that owns Onix. They hadn't bought Onix yet. They just acquired Pickleball Now.
Okay.
And so they had brought me on board, and with a full sponsorship with Pickleball Now. They're going to pay my tournament fees and provide me with all the paddles I need and clothing. About 2 years ago, the same company acquired Onix Sport.
Right.
And they combined Pickleball Now and Onix and rebranded it as just Onix going forward. And so at that time, Steve Wong, who owned Onix, he came on board, and he was in the same capacity that I am right now, running the Onix pickleball team, and I became part of that along with several other players. Steve, after being with the company for about, I think, 6 months or so, decided that he wanted to venture out and do something different. He had made quite a few dollars selling the company.
Yeah. So he was well.
I received a call from the parent company for Onix, and saying that Steve was leaving, and we looked around for different players that we like to represent us, and every time my name came up, and so they called me and said, would you like the position? You become the employee by Onix, and
Wow.
you manage the team, which at the time there were about 30 players on the team.
Woo! What?
Yeah. So
Well, now was 30 players that sounds like a lot of people to me. So was 30 players a good thing, or was that was there some pruning and trimming of the hedges that needed to be done at some point?
Well, at that time, that was the largest team of any of the manufacturers out there. I mean, Engaged, at that time, they weren't sponsoring anybody. ProLite had their sponsorship for players like Wes Gabrielson, Gigi Lamaster, Christine Barksdale, and those players. I mean, those are big-time, high-level players, well-known in the pickleball world.
Right.
National champions. And so that's who they sponsored. They weren't sponsoring, Joe Blow down at the bottom here.
Right.
PaddleTech then started sponsoring other players, and Steve had sponsored a few players, but he was primarily giving them, paddles and some Onix shirts to wear. So when Escalade Sports is the company that acquired Onix, when they acquired them, they wanted to have players representing the brand, the Onix brand. And so they reached out to several players around the country, not necessarily players who were the #1 player in pickleball, but they were looking for quality people first.
Right. Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense.
You're a good player, but they wanted someone who was upstanding and well respected to represent the brand. And so when they called upon me, they said, well, they thought that I had respect in the pickleball community, and so I can then go out there and find players who can be well respected and represent the brand in a very nice manner. So we started with, when I acquired them, there were 30 players, and subsequently I'm growing the team from 30 to now 52 players. So
what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, y'all have half of pickleball. That's like that. That's like you got all the pickleball. Everybody worth half of this. All right, but now it seems like though. Now as I watch things now, Onix has an extremely strong presence. I think of all the brands that I've encountered, aside from the new up and coming ones, there are a few that are out there. Corrigo is an example of one that's out there that is new, mom and pop, and they're fighting to get some kind of market share. They're trying to get a little bit of that 1 or 2% that's available for them as they develop a solid brand offering. But when we talk about the big boys and girls of the apparel, well, not the apparel, I guess the paddle industry, Onix is really active and very much engaging itself in the industry and really they're active on Twitter, they're active on social media, Instagram, Facebook. They're making some moves. But I also noticed Paddle Tech being very effective as well in terms of getting the word out, getting quality players. I believe they have Kyle Yates and Stephanie, I think, is Paddle Tech as well. Do you ever find that there's any level of rivalry between the sponsored brands? Does that become an issue? And I don't mean it contentious. I just mean in terms of just strategically, because now your concern isn't just playing well now. Your concern is developing a brand and making it the leader in that sport.
Absolutely. Well, there's a sunrise in the morning.
Right on.
When you speak of rivalry, I don't think it's a the kind of rivalry, the dirty rivalry that you talk to people. Certainly, every brand wants to be the premier brand and the brand of choice for players. They want themselves to be out there being purchased by every single player that ever decides to play pickleball. So when you start talking of the brands that have been around a long time, ProLite is the company that has been around the longest. I mean, it started with a gentleman by the name of Arlen Paranto, who is Steve Paranto's dad. So that company that was the first company that made a paddle that was made of the Nomex material and changed the way pickleball was being played.
Right.
Then you've got companies like, before Onix was known as it is now, it was known as S-Type, where Steve Wong had started. And you've got Engage, which is a fast up-and-coming company with Rob Elliott heading it up. You've got Paddle Tech, Curtis. I mean, these guys have done a fantastic job of taking their paddle and really creating a good market share with it. So you've got Onix, Paddle Tech, ProLite, Engage. Who am I missing?
Gamma.
Selkirk. Sorry, Selkirk.
Selkirk, yeah, but not Gamma. But not Gamma.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fairly new to the pickleball. Gamma, you got coming out fairly soon. Head.
Yeah, we talked about that offline about that. Yes.
you've got these new companies that are now getting into pickleball. Wilson came in, they made an entree into the sport, and they didn't do so well as they expected because, you know, you think of the name Wilson and you expect quality product, but their paddles at the time they made were not of the best quality.
Really? Okay.
But, you know, well, I'll put it this way, it didn't garner the kind of market acceptance that they were hoping for. And so the big five,
maybe they just didn't. I think that you look at a brand like Wilson, it's just a huge brand that's cornered the market on so many different sports.
Yeah.
I don't know that I think that they still look at pickleball as a niche product and didn't put the R&D in developing a really worthwhile product that was really worthy of the brand, because Wilson really is a solid brand overall.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is that these small companies, they can turn on a dime in terms of the decision-making process. You know, Selkirk, Engage, Paddletech, ProLite, you know, they can turn on a dime in terms of it's, you know, the chain of command is probably, you know, just two people. You know, boom, boom, let's do it, get it out to market. And so, but a company like Onix, which is a publicly held by a publicly traded corporation, you just can't just make a decision at the grassroots level and hope that tomorrow morning you're going to get it. It's got to go through the marketing people.
There's a whole lot of logistics that go on before anything rolls out.
Exactly.
When you're talking about that size of business. Yeah. Well, all right. So now let me ask you this. I'm gonna switch. I got the time now is 7:52. Our block of time with you is from 7 to 8. All right. But I'm starting to, you know, I think that people are starting to pay attention now, right? And so we're starting to get some great questions. So before we go on, because this definitely influences the pace of our discussion. I'm enjoying the tone and pace of the discussion. I don't want to rush any questions along, because I enjoy the fact that you're giving us some in-depth answers versus, you know, these sort of cut and copy things that, you know, there's no depth to it. So can we hold on to you maybe for another 10 minutes afterwards? You think we can squeeze out another 10 out of you?
You got me here.
All right, cool. So we're going to try to get as much out of them as we can. So let's start hitting some of these awesome questions that we had. One of the questions sort of answers itself now that we understand your relationship to Onix. But it also kind of gets into what I wanted to talk about, which is your lifestyle as an RV enthusiast. Which is, the question was, how far are you willing to travel for a tournament? And then the question was, how do you find accommodations? So this is a great segue to talk about you as an RV and how you even began doing that. How did that happen? And let's answer that question with that segment of this discussion.
Well, I'll tell you this: RVing was an outshoot of pickleball. Surprisingly,
really?
Yeah.
So we know what came first, the pickleball or the RV. So it's
pickleball came first.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I was at a tournament in Punta Gorda, Florida, and I met two gentlemen who are great RVers. They're full-time RVers, and I was telling them about a road trip my wife and I took up to the UP in Michigan. We was 4,800 miles, and we were gone for 30 days. And somehow the conversation about that came about, and he said to me, you know, you could have done that in an RV, because he asked me, where did you stay? I said, well, we stayed in hotels, timeshare, family, different places. And he said, you know, you could have done that in an RV and saved yourself a lot of these changes in moving stuff. I said, you know what, I never thought of that, and it sounds like a great idea. Well, I went back and I said to my wife, I met these two guys, and they're full-time RVers. And I said, they told me about their lifestyle in RVing. There was one guy, he sold all his property, everything, in New Jersey, and decided that he's just going to go on the road, him and his wife.
Wow.
And the other guy, same thing. So she said, oh my God, that's what I want to do.
Nah, did she?
Oh yeah, she was hooked from the minute I said that. And I tell you, 1 month later, I had done research, and we had packed up our house, which we still have in Florida.
Right.
And
right.
we were on the road 1 month later. From the time I had that conversation with that guy, those guys in Florida, in Punta Gorda, and the time we pulled out of our community in the RV and hit the road.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, that was really decisive. So
Yeah.
now that kind of answers the question in terms of where do you find accommodations. I guess the RV is the RV, you know, but I imagine from time to time you do get out the RV and maybe stay in a room from time to time, or just you know get some more space, or is it not necessary?
Even if, there are sometimes when we have to travel and leave the RV, and I tell you, it's so funny, the hassle of having to pack a bag and take it with you and come back, we always miss the RV. We just want to get back, I'd rather drive the bus and get back,
Wow.
But, let me back up for a second. I'll tell you about this. We initially set out to just do this for 2 years.
Okay.
We told our neighbors in the community where we live, we're just going to do it for 2 years. Several of them said, knowing me, said, Byron, 2 years? Nah. 6 months, they're going to be back.
Right.
And, now it went from 2 years, and it's now just over 4 years. Well, 4 years. And so they don't feel that we're coming back to live in Florida, and which they might be right. And we've just enjoyed living the RV lifestyle to the point now we're looking to upgrade our RV to something else.
Well, listen. Let me just say this. I gotta say, I noticed that at some point Onix decided to wrap the RV, so I know that's been an attention grabber.
Oh yeah.
Now if by some chance, or if you say to yourself, hey, I'm tired of this one, we're gonna upgrade, and you can't really figure out what to do with the old one, I'll take it off your hands, I'll drive it around, I'll let people see the Onix Brand. Yeah, there's something that we can
hey, a few months and we may have a deal going.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'll have to work on building the show up a little bit more so I can afford it. But but that is awesome. So in terms of travel, you've really traveled the continental. I mean, because every time I turn around, you're somewhere different. Either you guys are in a national park or you're, at a pickleball tournament.
Yeah, we've traveled in the 4 years. We've covered all lower 48 states. And as a matter of fact, the same set of guys that introduced me to the RVing lifestyle, we should have been with them right now in Alaska.
What?
They are there. But unfortunately for me, I've got to get this back surgery done, which I'm doing on Friday.
Right, and which is I want to talk about that for a moment as well. What is the back? What is the issue with your back? Let's start there. And where does it begin?
Well, I'll tell you, it began. I used to play rugby.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And then I played a lot of volleyball. I mean, the constant jumping and pounding. I represented my home country, which is Guyana in South America.
Yes.
In those sports. So after a while, first the knee went. I had to have a full knee replacement, and then I discovered that I suffered from a condition called spinal stenosis, which in layman's terms is just a narrowing of the spinal canal.
Okay.
That causes your spinal cord not to move as freely as it should, with the facet nerves and facet joints being compressed. It's almost like a degenerative joint disease. So with that, for me, bending at certain angles and staying crouched or bent is very painful, excruciatingly painful. I had a fusion done 8 years ago to my lower lumbar from my L4 down to my S2, and now I've got to have my upper lumbar done to open up and free up my spinal cord, because right now there's so much pain. My legs, they're not functioning the way they should.
I know when we spoke in Atlanta, you said there are times where it almost feels like you're walking on sponges, like you don't have any real sense of the floor.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's one of the biggest problems that I'm experiencing right now, where I'm a little unsure of my footing. So I've got to get this done. I've been putting it. I should have had this surgery done 4 years ago, but I didn't like what the first set of doctors were telling me that they wanted to do to my spine in order to rectify the situation. And I subsequently now found a doctor here in Surprise, Arizona. And you know he has got to be good for the simple fact and reason that I am hearing 115 degrees.
Yeah.
It's not my kind of weather.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, whoa, this cat is always in surprise, but I mean, like, 115 degrees, surprise. But I hear they got some great facilities, too. So there are some serious pickleball facilities in Surprise, Arizona as well. So, once we get past this recovery, we'll be back at it. But, I mean, may I ask you on a personal level, I mean, is it a little scary? Like, I mean, is this like, hey, it is what it is? Like, how do you feel about that? I mean, I just went to the chiropractor, and this guy straightened me out. And, but he was talking about some of the things my wife might have to look forward to in terms of what she needs to do to keep her back. You don't mind me talking about that, right, Chichi? My wife's over here. She does, I got the whole family's. No one can see them, but my entire family, for the most part, is here in the periphery running the show. So I just want to thank them as well, real quick, as it just crossed my mind. My daughter Shanae and my wife QP. Back issues are always a scary prospect because you never really we know how our nerves are interconnected through our back. How many things are that's just really a major hub for your nerves. So how are you feeling going into surgery now this time?
I tell you, anyone that tells me that they're not nervous going into any surgery, they don't have any kind of feelings or emotions. I tell you, I don't know if you've ever had any kind of major surgery in your body, but I have had about 9 surgeries on my body.
Wow.
Right elbow, left elbow,
wow,
shoulder, back, knees.
Wow.
So, and there's a piece of paper that you've got to sign. And I have memorized the language because I've done it so many times. And it says, surgery is not an exact science and may sometimes result in death.
Wow.
Okay? Or no, it says medicine. Medicine is not an exact science and may sometimes result in death. So when you have to sign that paperwork, acknowledging that, the doctor will make his best effort to make sure you survive this, what they're doing, the fact that if you do expire, you sign a paper saying, I'm accepting that risk.
Wow.
So going into any surgery, if you're a man of faith, you say a prayer.
Yes.
And, I tell you, I am not so much concerned about the actual neurosurgeon. The guy that truly has, or gal that truly has my life in their hand is the anesthesiologist.
That's it.
That's the person that puts you to sleep and the person that's got to make sure you wake up. And so I always make sure that they are happy. Did you have your coffee this morning? Is everything well with the family?
Yeah.
If I see them smiling, I'm all right. I'm good to go. If they got a grumpy look on their face, that concerns me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I am a bit nervous. I'm always a bit nervous going into any surgery. But I'm a man of faith, and if it's the Lord's will, then that's so be it. But I hope that He will guide the hand of the surgeons, and that they'll do the best that they can to ensure that I come out of this better than I went in.
Come and ask. Oh, Bob. Well, my wife wanted to ask, how long would you be out? How long do you? I was actually going to ask. What are you looking at for recovery?
It's about 6 to 8 months.
Wow. Okay.
My previous back surgery, I was out for about 14 months.
Wow.
But that surgery was a major surgery. It was 10.5 hours of being on the table, and I lost the use of my left leg right after the surgery. My left leg wasn't functioning for about 4 or 5 months. So it was a scary time, but like I said, you say your prayers and you hope for the best. And after about 5 months, my toes started wiggling, and I got excited. And I told my wife, "Look, my big toe is actually moving."
Yeah.
Good. And it progressed from there. It got better until I started doing a lot of physical therapy, getting back into the weight room, working on building up my legs to the point where my left leg was like a skinny pole because the muscles had atrophied.
Yeah.
So what I have here is just a shell of what my legs used to be when in my days of playing. I mean, I could not go in the store and buy a pair of slacks off the shelf. My thighs were so huge, my calves were so huge that I had to have them adjusted where sometimes the pockets might look like this when they're taking the waist. Back then I used to have a much smaller waist, 32, 31, 32 waist.
Well, at some point we all had a 31, 32. If you go far back enough, we pretty much were all there. I mean, it just, it's such a, there's so many people that play this game that are suffering from injuries, are recovering from injuries, and finding the game as a sanctuary for, a game that they can play through the injury, and in some cases are almost liberated from the chronic pain or the chronic debilitating component of the injury.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people that are watching because although there's in some of the forums that we frequent, there is a younger contingent, but the wide demographic is still an older demographic that really have those concerns, and I know that a lot of them are facing these kind of things and wonder how they're gonna, what's gonna happen on the other side. I used to say years ago, it's a cruel thing to say, but I used to always say, when somebody gonna go when they have a hip, when they break their hip, like that was always a sure sign, like somebody's. It's my grandmother broke their hip. I could count it down. It's any day now. It's over because that hip go. It seemed like that's just it.
I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor, but generally speaking, when that happens to most people, the thing that takes them out is not the hip; it's pneumonia.
Wow. What?
Yeah, that's why most people, or elderly people, die because of pneumonia, not because necessarily the hip, but the hip was a contributing factor to them being debilitated, but pneumonia is the thing that you find sets them down, quite often.
So see, and that's the thing that I guess would concern me, facing surgeries, facing that sort of scenario, is that wow, I'm not going to be active for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it's going to weaken me to some extent. I was doing good, I was losing weight, I was I was getting fit, I was moving more, and now I'm set back. I know that you had to feel that way when the doctor told you if you hit the floor again playing racquetball, you're not getting back up.
Yeah.
Is it a similar feeling going into this surgery?
I think I have a bit more confidence in this surgery. I had 2 days ago I met with the doctor, and we had about an hour long conversation. He showed me all the images, the MRI images, and the X-ray images of what he's going to do, exactly where he's going to attack, his process and methodology he's going to utilize in order to affect some change in my spine, which he's got to readjust completely. My spine looks like a sickle. It goes straight like this, and then it curves. So he's got to make it one natural curve. So there's some adjustment. And I have confidence in him. He's a well-trained doctor. The hospital where the surgery is going to be performed has a very good excellent reputation. So those things combined has my mind, even though there is a bit nervous. I'm a bit nervous. I'm not, shaking, trembling, and freaking out. That is not the case.
I have full confidence in the doctor that he's going to do a good job. And if he can give me 50% relief from my pain that I experience right now, I think it will be mission accomplished.
Wow.
He says he can do better than that, and I do believe him. And so I look forward to embracing that kind of an experience after I'm through with the surgery.
All right, so now we're going to leave that alone and just get fired up for excellent and quick recovery. And, you know, of course, when, you know, post-surgery at some point when you get your bearings and you kind of, you know, feel up to it, we're going to revisit, see, we're going to check in on you in that regard because we want to see where you're at. And, you know, I think that it's important that, people are always special to me. You know, a person doesn't become less than special because they're on the, the infirmary list for a little bit. That just means that you're out, but you're not down. It's like, this
right.
is still a guy. We got, and he still got an opinion on what's going on, and we still want to, tap into this wisdom. So we are definitely going to check back with you at some point. What I want to ask you, I got a couple more questions while I got you. And one of them is a great question, and I want to make sure I articulate it correctly. It's a little dark in here, so I'm having a hard time reading it. But it says, do you think that there are a lot of legal serves, I'm sorry? Yes, what I said. Do you think that there are a lot of illegal serves that don't get called? And it says Laurel Hyman? Was that the person that asked the question, or were they referencing?
No.
Oh, so it's Laurel or Lori? Laurel. So Laurel asked the question, does he think that they're... Now, funny enough, I grabbed my paddle again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was observing your serve.
Yeah.
And earlier on, we talked about the fact that you weren't really doing too good with a nice forward serve. You don't have one of those too well. And I'm not going to discuss the fact that you haven't developed a worthwhile serve. What I am going to discuss is that I really took some time to look at how you do your backhand serve. And so, I've done a little rule book reading myself. And I know that you have to have, it can't be a break in the wrist. Now, I know this is no break in the wrist. You're keeping it, and you are keeping it below the navel, which is what we're considering waist high. It's got to be at least below the navel, yes?
Right.
And at least has to have that 1 degree arc up. And I'm a little concerned about your serve because I don't know about that arc up. It seems a little down there. I mean, it looks like you're working a little cut, a little spin in there, a little back spin in there, and you might be sacrificing that 1 degree of spin. I mean, of angle arc up. So, do you think? I mean, we're not going to talk about your illegal serve, but let's talk about everybody else's illegal serve. Do you think there are a lot of illegal serves that go uncalled and unacknowledged in the game?
Well, I'll tell you. I just saw the other day Pickleball Channel put the match between Irina Tereshchenko and Simone Jagim.
Is that the one that she was asking about? All right, great. You know what? You tapped right into the question because she was Laurel was asking about that exact match. And who called it?
And so,
so you called it technical and serve.
Well, I call it full serve because one of the things when I watch players warm up, I watch how they practice their serves. I watch how they strike the ball. And there are certain players that have their paddle, the way they strike the ball, their paddle head is generally always above their wrist.
Right, and it's supposed to be below the break in the wrist.
And they hit the ball. So, oftentimes you'll find that same play when they serve the same way they strike the ball. Wow. And so, with her, she was occasionally bringing the paddle head just above the wrist. Sometimes it was borderline. Sometimes where I'm not going to call it every single time because I got to be sure that on that specific time that I make that call, that I did clearly see it had been above the wrist when the ball was struck. People might argue that it is borderline. Yes, but at some point in time, you got to make the call on the one that you see, not the others that you think might be borderline. And one of the things that I do when I'm looking at a player serving, I'm looking for that one serve that I clearly see that is above, the way the head of the paddle is above the wrist. on contact with the ball. Now, in that particular match, I called twice, one in one game and one in the second game. And I think people had questions about what actually happened. Well, she dropped the F-bomb. And there are people behind me who were in their $2,500 seats. And one lady said behind me, "Oh my God, what language?" And so I had to act upon it and not just allow it to go. So I called a technical foul after I had already given her a warning before that. The second technical warning is a technical foul, which then awards a point to the opponent.
Wow.
And so Simone received a point as a result of the F-bomb. I don't know if I can't say that she directed it to me. I don't think so. But, she was just frustrated. She was upset. And, for me, there are many players out there that get frustrated and upset, and you'll hear them curse. But then I would say to them, come on, watch your language. Be careful. And most times they always correct themselves. If they go beyond, then I'll hit them with a technical, you see. But in terms of the serve itself, I'm looking for where the contact is made. And as long as that head is just about even or below the wrist, that's not a problem for me. It's when they serve, and I'll demonstrate for you. When
all right, hold up. Before you go, we're watching. All right, I'm already looking.
Okay.
I'm watching you close, so don't mess up now.
And they come across this way.
Yes.
There's no upward arc. They just come across their body. Or if they're backhand serving, you'll find that they'll serve from up here, boom, above the navel. That's an illegal serve. Now, for my illegal serve, quote unquote, as you say, there's a demonstration of it on the Pickleball channel.
Yeah.
And because early in my pickleball career, I got called for illegal serve at a tournament in Houston, where a gentleman said, "No, your serve is illegal." Why is it illegal? Because you're serving backhand. Is an illegal serve a backhand serve? Yes, it is illegal. I didn't know that. I said, I don't think it's illegal because I'm doing all the things that a server should do. My paddle head is below my wrist. I'm making contact below my navel.
Yeah.
Because I'm making contact way down here. Instead, I'm finishing in an upward arc. So those three things, as long as you follow the script for those three actions, the serve is always going to be illegal. I saw one guy serve like this. He chopped the ball like this. That's an illegal serve.
Yeah, that was one of my first really. That was one of my first boutique serves that I had. I had a nice boutique, classy, next level serve that I was putting together. It was more. It wasn't a backhand serve. It was more here, and I cut across like this. Almost broke my thing. I almost cut across right here, and man, that thing would spin and turn and twist in the air. It was a work of art. And then I happened upon the rules, and I had to retire my great serve. I haven't been the same since. I haven't been the same player since. I don't know what I'm going to do without it. But maybe I'll adapt your serve, as it seems to have some effectiveness.
And you'll see, and a lot of people have said to me, that's where they learned to serve backhand because they were having problems.
Right.
Their forehand serve. And I think, they've showed the jagged line to show where there was definitely contact below, upward swing, and, nice follow through.
Awesome. So let's talk going forward. Obviously we have the surgery. We're going to have a serious recovery time. Not as bad as the last one, though, which is great. But, there will be some downtime. Won't be as much movement, What's next? What do you do about a month after surgery? What is Byron Freso doing? Well,
I've got 6 weeks that my doctor said I cannot bend or twist. So
okay.
For the first 6 weeks, I'm going to be pretty much, laid up. not a whole lot of movement. But my hope shortly after that, I'm going to start therapy, physical therapy, after the 6-week period. And but in the meantime, after that, doing therapy, I'm hoping to go to the Tournament of Champions in Brigham City, be there, and then get back, and from there I'll see what happens. Nationals will be following. No, sorry, not nationals, but Huntsman will be following that tournament. So I'm hoping that I can be down at Fall Brawl and Huntsman. In the meantime, still continuing my physical therapy treatment. That's the game plan. However, I don't know yet. I'm hoping that once I'm done with surgery, everything will work out fine, and that's my hope, my goal, and my aspiration. So we'll see. Time will tell.
Okay, a couple more questions, and we're gonna let you go. Even though I've really enjoyed having you on. I mean, it's been a great discussion. And I just want to say as an aside, I'm really happy that I've had the opportunity to interview you, especially with the new format of Bros and Pros, it being at the level that it's at. I think that this is a great interview because I really do, I'm enjoying the perspective. I think that it's an important perspective, and it's a quite knowledgeable one. A couple of questions that I want to ask, one of which is, on a personal, how will that, well, hold on, here's the question I wanted to ask. Well, we kind of touched it a little bit, but you don't play with Marsha. Though Marsha is a solid singles player, she's a solid doubles player, you don't play together. Now, I play with my wife, me and her. That's my my mixed doubles partner. The other day, though, she was kind of lamenting. She felt like maybe she wasn't, she couldn't play with me. And in my mindset, I'm like, nah, I'm like, nah, man, I'm not even trying to hear that. We husband and wife. We find a way to work together. Like we can't work and play the game together, man. That ain't no good. Something ain't right. We gotta, let's find our way through this. Come on, man. I don't want to be on no podium hugged up with somebody else's wife talking about we won. I want to be on with my wife talking about we won. Like, that it really, like, for me, I was like, nah, man, I couldn't see it. Nothing against anybody that would be in that scenario. It's just for me, I was like, nah, that's, but most cats that I talk to, they can't play doubles with their wives. And, I don't even know. Enlighten me. What am I missing here? What am I missing that's like that I should just say, hey,
Well, let me say this. Prior to that, we played a lot of sports together. We played volleyball together. We played racquetball together. And my little foray into tennis, I'm not going to claim that I'm a tennis player. I was, the number 7 in the 7-team rotation of tennis on a team in Atlanta.
Okay.
And we played mixed doubles together. We had no problems. Initially, when we started playing pickleball, we had no problems in playing together. We won several tournaments together in Florida. We won several tournaments nationally out in California, and so. But at some point, it got progressively worse, where my advice was viewed upon a criticism.
I know that song. That song. I know the words to that song. That song's very familiar to me.
And it just became a little, nothing against, my wife is a very good player, and I think that we could win together. However, it became a bit stressful for me and for her.
Yeah.
Because I'm a person, when I'm playing, I am 100% intense. I'm into play, and my wife is more relaxed. And if she missed the shot, no big deal. Go on, function. Okay. So we played our last tournament. We played the State Games of America. We won the gold medal, the State Games of America 2 years ago in Omaha, Nebraska, and called it quits at that point in time. pickleball divorce. So,
wow. Okay. Ah, man, that's heartbreaking, man. That just made it just even worse. You know, that just made it even worse. Like, oh man, come on, man. Y'all couldn't have worked it out. But you walked out winners though.
yes,
So
absolutely.
you got to sleep with a winner that. That's good.
We finished on a high note.
Yeah.
Won a major tournament, so that's it.
Oh man, that's a rough one, man. I don't know, man. How is your rehab gonna affect Marsha in terms of play? Like for me, it's like, you know, my wife loves the game, but she won't necessarily go and play if I'm not gonna go. Like I gotta be like, go play if I've got other stuff to do. Do you think that's gonna affect her play, and do you feel like responsible for that? You know what I'm saying?
That's not going to affect anything. You know,
He's like, it ain't got nothing to do with me. It's like, she's going to do what she got to do.
She's going to go play with the ladies here in Surprise, and you know, I'll be fine.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it will be a welcome respite.
Don't worry, we'll edit this part of the video out. We'll keep you safe, bro. I know that's right. I said keep some time to catch up on my programs. That is awesome. That is awesome. I mean, I think that we pretty much got it. I mean, you know, honestly, I have a lot of things that I can talk to you about, and I can talk to you about for hours. But we did say from 6:30 to 8:30 was my maximum time, which was 8:27. So I'm not going to push too far past that. I do want to tell again, once all of the people watching, we want to say once again that thank you for coming back and checking out. You was making the right choice, man. Thanks for checking out Bros and Pros again. We're really appreciative of that. You know, I want to say this as just as a kind of a moment of wisdom. I should have had some moment of wisdom music. Here's my moment of wisdom. You know, pickleball is a game of comebacks. You know, when you play this game, there are times that it is not uncommon to be at 7-0. 2 and be like, man, they're killing us, and then they slip and feed that net, you know, or they slip and hit the ball just a little too far, they get a little too comfortable, they get, you know, they put a little too much power on the ball, and they send it flying out, and it's your turn, and then you get hot, man. You hit the ball across, and you drop it in the kitchen, and that they feed the net, and you're like, hold on, I got him now. That's when you start rattling off them points. So yeah, 172, you know, 272. 372, 472, and you just feeling good because you're just dropping those points and you're catching up. You know, such is life. There are times in life when you will be behind. There are times in life where you're going to catch some bad serves. You're just not going to, you know, the stuff that you drilled is not coming together. The things are not working the way you planned. Things that you are amazing at are not going to come together the way that you planned. But you don't stop the game. Like I never play. You know, the one thing I've always learned, I never play with people. I stop when I detect this in a player, I won't play with them anymore. Which is the guy that gives up mid-game. You know, the guy that when he's certain that he's lost, so he doesn't give his all the way through. Pickleball is a game you play to 11 and beyond if necessary. You play it all the way through because there's always an opportunity to win that game. And so we want to say that how much we appreciate those of you that have come by to check out Bros and Pros again, that have given us this opportunity to show you that there is always time for us to win this game. We are back. We are so much better than we began. It is amazing. And we are reaching out to you guys to say, hey, listen, if you've enjoyed what you watched, if you enjoy this quality of interview, if you enjoy the fact that we're engaging pickleball at a different level, you know, discussions that are more cerebral, not just about the sport and about how you dig the ball and your strategy. There's a lot of great guys doing great videos about that. Mark Renison with Third Shot Sports is doing great stuff. Rusty is doing great stuff with the Pickleball channel. Pickle Pong Deb is doing great things. Sarah Ansbury, she's doing great videos. I mean, I've learned a lot from these people. They're very giving, and I'm very happy to acknowledge these people in my program. But we want to provide you guys with an opportunity to get into the depth of the sport and the depth of the people that are behind the sport, and to be a part of growing it in a different capacity. And so I'm very proud to be a part of Paddle Up Sports, and I'm happy that Bros and Pros is here. And I'm asking you guys to be certain to come like the page Paddle Up Sport. Follow us on Twitter at PaddleUp002, and on Instagram PaddleUp002. You can see right here below me. Look at that, right below me is those are the places you can follow us at, and to spread the word, because like anything viral, it requires you to spread the word and let people know. So share the link, share this video, share this interview, and let people know that this was an amazing interview. And we can't wait, because we got some amazing interviews coming up, and we're going to speak about that in one moment. We want to take another moment to thank our guest, the great Byron Freso. You're on camera, and we just want to say thank you again, brother, so much. Not only for your time today, but also just how giving you've been in the sport, what you've done for the sport. I know that when you do come back from surgery, I do want to talk to you at length about, you know, the urbanization of pickleball, because the demographic is changing. There are people from a variety of different sports. The other day I just posted a picture of my son Bilal catching crazy air with a power slam that just was out of, I mean, you know, it almost, you'd think I photoshopped it, is how amazing this was. And, you know, we're going to be at a tournament here in Augusta where I believe it's Raymond Blinky Weber, who is, what was he, one of the Falcons or something like that?
He played NFL.
He played NFL football. He's playing pickleball. An amazing player. He'll be playing with one of our guys, Paul Myers, who's another amazing player. But these are guys that have these amazing different backgrounds that are coming into the sport, and they come from urban environments. And I definitely want to talk about whether or not, you know, the brands are willing to engage in developing that market segment, and what we can do to kind of instigate that, as well as USAPA, getting them involved in. You know, we've got great ambassadors. There's no slight against any ambassador. I think the ambassadors are phenomenal. Our ambassador here in Augusta, Ann Rhymes, has been, and she's like the pickleball mother. She's just been amazing at the job. But I do believe that there's a certain demographic that could be introduced to the game, and not as a matter of civil rights, but more as a matter of, this is some great play that we're missing out on. I want to see some of these kids with this level of athleticism hit this court, because, you know, I just want to see what they do with this game, if we can get them interested in it, you know. So I definitely want you to come back, and I want to sit down and talk to you about that and a lot of other things as well, and see how you're feeling post-surgery. But once again, we want to thank our guest, Byron Freso, Road Warrior, Pickleball, Don, one of the most sneakiest players in the game, easily. The man that has managed to make an illegal serve legal. Now you know that's somebody special. An amazing ref and a great guy. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here with us at Bros and Pros, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, I appreciate it, and thank you for what you're doing again. And I look forward to being back on the program at some time in the not too distant future.
Yeah, well, we got work for you while you sit, when you're bedridden. We're gonna have you promoting the show. Don't worry about it. You got plenty of work to do, so don't you worry about that. We're gonna keep you nice and busy. You thought you were gonna be able to catch up on some shows, but we're gonna have you working really. Don't worry about that.
Hey, that's one thing I never back away from, man. Good hard work. It's always been my staple.
Awesome, awesome. Well, once again, thanks so much for having you. And we're going to shoot real quick to this next segment. And we're going to say goodbye to Byron. And we'll see you soon, brother.
All right. Take care. Thanks a lot.
This is Stephanie Lane. So many gold medals. She's an honorary golden girl. Queen of the Lob, a.k.a. the Lobster Queen. This is a picture of you playing Stephanie Lane. Yeah, that's right. She just lobbed the ball way over your head. On this picture, it's the same game, and the ball still hasn't landed. Yeah, I know, right? You think this is a picture of Stephanie Lane with a thumb up, but actually it's the same game. She's just pointing at the ball. Yep, this is Stephanie Lane, and I'll be interviewing her for Bros and Pros, streaming live at Paddle Up Sports.
let it rock out, and